We live in a pop culture world where we're inundated with images from movies and television shows and comic books and music. We all have our social media. We all have our websites. Well, not all of us, but a lot of us. Uh, what rights do you have? What copyright rights are there? How do we manage that? Barbara Ingrassia is with Managed Copyright. She's a specialist in this area. What copyright rights do we have when we're using that kind of material?
Well, the easy answer, which covers everything, is it depends. Everything is very situationally specific, the who, what, when, where, why. What are you using? What are you using it for? Things of that nature. Is it something that it's all rights reserved? Is it something that the copyright has expired on so that it's in the public domain? Not just publicly accessible, not just floating around out there, but actually with an expired copyright or some other exception. In the US, we have fair use. In Canada, we have fair dealing. So that there are some areas in which you don't have to get permission. But again, it's not something that's not a slam dunk. It's not something to hang your hat on.
And fair comment too, right? If you're commenting on the material, that allows you some use.
Yes, criticism, parody, education oftentimes. But there are things to consider. It's not just a check here and a check there and add up the bottom. It's sort of an art and a science that has to be thought through and documented before you decide to use something without getting permission.
I can tell you where
there's always a risk involved. Where are you on the risk continuum? How comfortable are you with risk?
Yeah, from working in television, we talk a lot about copyright law. I've been to some great sessions on it, and it's always risk management all the time. One of the great examples that I see out there right now on YouTube in particular of using copyright material in fair comment is there's a lot of reaction videos where people will watch. There are young people who will watch Bruce Springsteen for the first time and react to it. And I've even heard them comment, I can only let this go so far before I have to pause and comment on it. And that allows them to get all these Bruce Springsteen fans seeing how they're reacting to it. But that's an example of fair comment, right?
Typically, yes. Now it depends. And how far do you go exactly with the whole fan fiction, fan art thing? It depends on how the copyright owner feels. They may encourage it, the fan fiction kind of thing, as long as it's not being sold commercially, as long as it doesn't go too far kind of thing. So some of them tolerate it. Some of them actually encourage it. It's true of new music groups as well. So it's important to know what that platform or what that owner will allow and not allow. There are cases in which, if it's gone a little bit too far, then there's trouble. Taking too much of the original language. For example, the J.K. Rowling, there was a Harry Potter lexicon, which as long as it was online and wasn't being sold, seemed to be tolerated. But when it became a book, then being sold, then that was crossing the line.
I know that Star Trek, there were a lot of people making Star Trek fan films, and they put in a whole set of rules to it, right? That you cannot be beyond a certain length. They cannot be serialized. I'm just trying to recall off the top of my head. Don't quote me on this. That's my qualifier. This is not legal advice.
Right.
And, but they had a whole set of rules. If you want to make a fan fiction Star Trek thing, you can, but you can't do this.
And so it does keep the topic in the news or on top of mind, which is a good advertising. It's when it's not good advertising that it gets out of the way. When
people start to make money off it, exactly. And they're going, well, I didn't allow you to make money, and that's actually my money because it's my copyrighted material.
And even if you don't charge money for something, someone might say, well, I used your content, but I didn't charge for it. I didn't make any money from it. That's not an excuse. That's not saying, okay, we're good. Sometimes you'll see the disclaimer that this is not meant to infringe copyright. Well, if it does, it's infringing copyright, and no
Right.
matter what you say as an excuse.
Yeah, I didn't mean to hit you with my car.
You're
That
right.
doesn't make it okay.
Exactly. Exactly. So we have sort of gradations. We have all rights reserved, where the copyright owner may be very strict and you need to get permission. And you say, well, I tried to contact them, but they didn't respond. So must be it's okay. No, no, don't assume it's okay. Or it'll be good advertising for them. They want to control their
Right.
advertising.
That's their decision, not yours.
Yes. So, and then we have the public domain, where you're free to use it in any way that you want. Things that come into the public domain oftentimes spin off. Then, for example, in the US, The Great Gatsby just came into the public domain. So there are many spin-offs of that, retelling the story, taking a character from within and developing it further. And because this is in the public domain, that can be done.
There's a great example of that when Pride and Prejudice came into the public domain. People realized that, and they made a book called Pride and Prejudice and Zombies.
Exactly.
Which I read, and they made into a movie, and it was all free and clear because it was finally public domain.
Yes, yes. And the caveat there is that you can't then claim a copyright to what's actually in the public domain, but the creativity that you have created around it is what you can protect. A bridge between all rights reserved and public domain is something called Creative Commons licensing. And I consider it a bridge over that chasm, because there are various levels of rights that a copyright owner can grant and say, you don't have to get permission from me as long as you follow these terms of the license. So it might be very, very liberal. It might say, you just have to give me attribution, and you can do anything you want with it. Then there are other degrees of no commercial use, no derivatives. And it gets almost locked down to an all rights reserved kind of thing. And of course, if you want to do something that's beyond a Creative Commons license, you can contact the copyright owner and negotiate for that.
So, the bottom line is things aren't necessarily off limits, but you have to do some homework to find out, where people are, what rights they grant, or even if you're taking some risk, which estates are especially litigious. The Eagles are litigious in particular, the music band, the Eagles. So you've got to be aware of those things too. There's a lot to go into. So if you need some help, Barb Ingrassia is a great person to talk to. If people want to contact you for some advice on how they're using copyright material, here's your email address, barb@managecopyright.com. There's your website. And this is something you can help people with, correct?
And one more thing, a safe measure is to always assume something is protected by copyright until you can determine otherwise. That's the safe way to go.
That's the safest, because, it's their copyright. It's their right. And you are the one using it. Barb, I could talk about this topic forever. I mean, people think it's dry, but it's so interesting. And the rules are different everywhere. So if you have some questions about this, particularly if you're doing something commercial or something promotional, really give Barb a shout and she can help walk you through this. Thanks so much for your time, Barb.
Great. Thank you, Craig.